Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about Nowruz Zuta, the feast of the great Shishlam. Nowruz Zuta means the smaller Nowruz. The Mandaeans also call this feast Nowruz Zuta, Little New Year, which takes place on the 6th day and 7th day of the first month. The night between these 2 days is called the Night of Power. And then, if a man is pious, the gate of Abathur, the judge that must be passed to get to heaven, is opened for him in a vision, and he obtains whatever he may ask. However, if he is really pious, he does not ask worldly favors, but freedom from sin and spiritual gifts, and the result is not immediately seen. Myrtles are hung on house doors, which remain there until the next year, and is thought to protect the Mandaeans from evil. It was the time of a feast, the day was Shishlam Rabbah, dedicated to one of the great Milki, whose name is Shishlam Rabbah. Milki means angels. So this is a feast for an angel called Shishlam Rabbah, a very important deity for the Mandaeans. On that day, the night preceding it, the gates of the world of light are opened wide. The Muslims know that there is such a night, but they do not know, as we do, when it takes place. The 6th day of the first month is called Nowruz Zuta, or Little New Year, and this and the 7th day are called Deva de Shishlam Rabbah, or in the holy books, Deba de Shushian. The night between these 2 days is called the Night of Power, and then if a man is pious, the gate of Abathur is opened to him in a vision, and he obtains whatever he may ask for. Shishlam means consummated perfection, which is the name of Adam Kasya, the perfect man, who is the heavenly counterpart of physical Adam. Okay, so Shishlam Rabbah appears to be the heavenly counterpart of Adam, the physical Adam. And he apparently, we're still not sure, I don't think we have much information to figure out who Shishlam is, but we know that the Muslims also have a festival similar to the Mandaeans called the Night of Power. Okay? The Mandaeans call this night the Night of Power. The Muslims also have a Night of Power, but we still don't know who this Shishlam Rabbah God is. Zoroastrians observe the 6th day of the first month of the Zoroastrian calendar as Khordad Sal, or Greater Nowruz. Doctrinally, Khordad is perceived as divine aspect or energy of Ahura Mazda, which presides over time and perfection. It is for this reason that the first day of the new calendar is celebrated as Khordad Sal Khodai, Khordad, Lord of the Year. In Zoroastrian tradition, a number of significant events are believed to have taken place on this blessed day. Geomar, the first human being, Hoshang, the first king of ancient Egypt, Kai Khosro, a great and glorious king of Iran, and most important of all, Zoroaster, are believed to have been born on this auspicious day. So, previously from the Mandaean sources, we've read that the spirit that was created on this day, the 6th day, is the spirit of Adam Kasya, the heavenly counterpart of Adam. So it could be that the spirit of Geomard was created on this day, and the spirit of Geomard later moved on to Kai Khosro, it moved on to Zoroaster, it moved on to Hoshang, the first king of ancient Iran. Just my opinion, it doesn't say that, but this is my opinion. The source of the Shishlam Rabbah festival. Laylatul Qadr, Night of Power. This is the name of the Islamic celebration. It's the same celebration that Mandaeans have. They call it Laylatul Qadr, meaning the night of destiny. They translate it to English as the night of power instead of the night of destiny. I'm not sure why. Ibn Kathir stated that scholars had argued over whether the night of power was celebrated by the previous nations or not. This indicates that the Night of Power was celebrated by prior nations before Islam, and when we can learn more about this celebration by looking at the Mandaeans, the followers of the Idrisi religion. Okay? Idris, which is Hermes, as we've said, is the founder of the Egyptian religion. They claim that Idris, who is Hermes, who is Thoth, is the founder of the Egyptians' religion. And the Mandaeans, as we've said, follow the Egyptians' religion. So he claims, the writer here states that the Mandaeans who follow the Idrisi religion, meaning who follow the Egyptian religion, these Sabians have a celebration called Shishlam Rabbah. The word Shishlam is of Egyptian origin, made up of two parts. Shai, the word for Eid, celebration, and Shlam means peace. So it's the Eid of peace. The Sabian scholar Abdel Fattah al-Zuhairi states that Shishlam Rabbah is one of the celebrations of the Sabians. It's 2 days long, and the night between them is called the Night of Power, Laylatul Qadr. And the word Shai is an Egyptian word that means fate, destiny. Okay? The ancient Egyptians believed that Allah had created a spirit, angel, that overlooked fate and was responsible for bringing about every person's fate. And the name of that spirit is Shai. And the ancient Egyptians perceived him as one of their greatest angels, and they referred to him as the Big One, the Great One. The Sabians believe that Shishlam Rabbah descends on earth during the Night of Power. The Night of Glory is better than 1,000 months. This is from the Quran. It's better than 1,000 months. That night the angels and the Spirit descend by the permission of their Lord for every decreed matter. The Sabians state that Shishlam Rabbah opens the gates of Abathur that lead to the world of light while coming down from the world of light to the planet Earth with everyone's fate. Okay, and the Sabian writer Abdel Fattah al-Zuhairi states that Shishlam Rabbah celebration, which contains the Night of Power, was one of the commandments of Idris. Okay, Laylatul Qadr, as I've said, means the night of fate. Okay, Qadr means fate. So, from the Egyptian sources, Shai was the personification of destiny. Every individual had his or her own Shai, a personal destiny that helped to make that person unique. In the Book of the Dead, Shai can be shown next to the scales in which the heart of the deceased person is weighed. Like the goddesses Mishkenet and Renunutet, he occasionally took the form of a birth brick with a human head. These bricks were the supports on which Egyptian women squatted to give birth. See that? Now, let's go ahead and read from Thoth. Thoth is the moon god of the Egyptians. Thoth is the Egyptian god of writing, magic, wisdom, and the moon. He was one of the most important gods of ancient Egypt, alternately said to be self-created. Thoth presided over the judgment of the dead with Osiris in the Hall of Truth. And the souls who feared they might not pass through the judgment safely were encouraged to call upon Thoth for help. Geraldine Pinch writes, Thoth, the excellent of understanding, observed and wrote down everything that happened and reported it to Ra every morning. As the record-keeper of the gods, he was paired with a librarian, Seshat. Thoth and Seshat knew the future as well as the past, meaning they knew the fate of every person. They inscribed a person's fate on the bricks on which their mother gave birth, and the length of a king's reign on the leaves of the Ishit tree. See that? So Thoth is the god of fate. Okay, Shai is Thoth. Shai is the moon god. Thoth. See that? Shai is the moon god Thoth. He's celebrated between the 6th and 7th night, 6th and 7th day. The night between the 6th and 7th day. So, let's go ahead and read this from the Egyptian sources. Thoth corresponds to the first month of the year referred to as Akhet. So Thoth is the first month of the year referred to as Akhet. Akhet, as we have said, this is my note, comes from the word Akh, which means heavenly counterpart, and is in line with what we've read about Thoth being the god of destiny and judge of the dead. The feast of Thoth is celebrated on the first day of the first month. See that? The first day of the first month of the year. So, let's summarize this together. Nowruz is celebrated first. That is when the sun god Ra emerged out of the egg. Next, the 5 intercalary days, which celebrate the 5 planets associated with Osiris, Seth, Horus, Isis, and Nephthys. These 5 planets emerged because the earth and sky cohabited together. After that, the night between the 6th and 7th day of the new year is dedicated to Thoth, the moon god, who decides people's fate and weighs their souls in the afterlife. They first celebrate the sun, Nowruz, and then they have 5 intercalary days, right? Those 5 intercalary days are the 5 planets: Venus, Mars, Mercury, Saturn, Jupiter. And then, right after that, they celebrate the moon. So the sun first, the 5 planets, and then the moon. The moon is the first day of the first month. Okay? Laylatul Qadr, this is from the Yazidi sources. Sheva Berat, while this night is often referred to in literature by the name of the Islamic Laylatul Qadr, it is in fact the Yazidi counterpart of another Muslim observance, the night of the middle of Shaban. On this night, also known as Laylatul Bara'a, God is thought to determine the events of the following year, and many pious Muslims spend the night waking and praying. They perform a modified form of the Muslim Salat, which takes all night to complete. Some apparently believe that they fulfill their obligations regarding the Salat prayers for the whole year in this way. See that? So these are the prayers for the nights of Bara'a and Qadr done together. They call their prayer Laylatul Qadr, the night of destiny, but they pray on the night of Bara'a, which is another holiday for the Muslims. Now they have a very long holiday, as I've said, and it seems they have a very long prayer, and it seems that this very long prayer covers both the night of Bara'a and the night of destiny, Laylatul Qadr. Shivaratri, this is from the Hindu sources, the night of Shiva, the most important annual festival for devotees of the god Shiva, celebrated on the 14th day of the dark waning half of the lunar month of Falgun. Worshippers, this is the final month, as we've said, the final month is Falgun. Worshippers of Shiva on this night are said to receive unlimited religious benefits. The observances for this festival fall into 3 general categories: fasting, wakefulness, and worship. So holy comes first, that's the full moon, right? And then if you look at the cycle, it's literally the first day of the new year, right? They celebrate the moon god Shiva on the first day of the new year. They call this celebration Shivaratri or Shivaratri. Okay. The afterlife in Manichaeism, earth as a lesser purgatory for auxiliary sins, and its resemblance to Hinduism and Greek mythology. As for the person who is a soldier struggling on behalf of light, who accepted the religion of Manichaeism and its piety, providing service for these and the elect, when such a one is visited by death, those deities whom I mentioned arrive, and the Satans are also present. He will appeal to the former for help, reminding them about how he labored for the sake of righteousness and served the religion and the elect. Then they will rescue him from the Satans, but he will not cease being part of the world. He will be like a person who has seen terrible things while they sleep, and he will remain immersed in the mire and clay. He will not cease being like this until his light and spirit are rescued, and he obtains membership among the elect. He will wear their garment after a lengthy period of births and rebirths. A reference to the transmigration of souls, the auditor will eventually win rebirth as an elect, and then after death release from the material existence. As for the sinful person who is possessed by desire and lust, when death visits, the Satans come to him, seize him, beat him, and show him frightening things. Those other deities are present with that garment, and the sinful person will think that they have come to rescue him. However, they are present to condemn him, to remind him of his deeds, and to secure the evidence that he rejected giving assistance to the elect. Therefore, he will not cease birth and death in torment in this world until the time of retribution, and he will be thrown into Jahannam. Jahannam is the planets, okay? So he's going to be thrown into the planets, Jahannam, and he's going to go through a number of births and deaths on earth to try and cleanse him of his sins. The righteous person only has to go through a number of births and deaths on earth, so he's not going to Jahannam, he's not going to the planets, he's being purified on earth as a lesser purgatory, and then he can make his way to heaven. Mani said, "These are three paths appropriated for the souls of humans. One of them leads to the light paradise, and they who travel on it are the elect. And the second leads back to the world and its terrors, and those who travel on it observe the religion and provide assistance to the elect. The third leads to Jahannam, meaning the planets, and those who travel on it are the wicked people." When asked what conditions of the hereafter will be after the passing away of the world and the condition of paradise and hellfire, Mani said, "Then primal man will come from the world of Capricorn, Al-Bashir will come from the east, the great builder will come from the south, and the living spirit will come from the world of the west. They will observe the large structure, which is the new paradise, and circumambulate the hellfire. They will look within it. Then the elect will come from the light of paradise to this light, the new paradise, and they will sit within it. Afterwards, they will hasten to the assembled deities and stand around that hellfire. Then they will watch the sinful evildoers turn over, shift back and forth, and sink deeper into that hellfire." So the elect are the priests, the Manichaean priests, and those that help them are the righteous people. The righteous people that help the elect still have to go through the purgatory of earth, which is a lesser purgatory, as I've said. But those that are sinful, they're going straight to the planets. They're going to the planets, they're going to be cleansed for so many years, and, God knows how long they're going to be cleansed in those planets, and then they're going to make their way back to earth for further cleansing, and then they can finally make their way to the light world. Similar to Hinduism and what we've read in the Greek mythology. Circumambulating the fire appears not only in Manichaeism, but in many other religions as well. Circumambulating, this is from Zoroastrianism, circumambulating the fire took place either after the wedding ceremony or following the Arush-Kishi ceremony, when the bride and groom are received at the house where they will live as husband and wife. The same thing with the Mandaeans. Both bride and bridegroom, on emerging from the water after each baptism, must walk around the Toriana, round the clay table upon which is the sacred fire saucer with the incense. The Brihi, which occupies the rest of the Toriana, the clay table, is an egg-shaped clay fire saucer, in which wood, reeds, or charcoal are burnt as fuel in use, and the narrow end must be placed to the north. So this Turiana, this fire saucer, is in the shape of an egg. Why is it in the shape of an egg? To resemble creation, to resemble the egg from which the sun god emerged, right? The great life came out of this egg. The Mandaeans come in batches to be baptized, and all together grasp the drafsha, in the manner described above, before going into the water one by one, for the immersion ceremony is always individual, and there is never more than one soul in the water at the same time. On emerging from the water, walking around the fire, incense apparatus, and the drafsha clockwise from the south, the candidates join the group of wet and often shivering souls who are waiting for the sacraments. So, during baptism, they walk around the drafsha. This is the drafsha. You see it on your right, this cross-like structure. This is the drafsha of the Mandaeans. It's no coincidence it looks like a cross. Okay? Like I said, the Mandaeans call themselves the Nasorians, which means the ones who come from Nazareth, and the Christians are called Nasorians. The Arabs, the Muslims today call the Christians Nasorians, the ones who come from Nazareth. The same thing applies to the Jews. The Jews also call Christians Nasorians, the ones who come from Nazareth. So the Mandaeans when they call themselves Nestorians, they're trying to say we are the true Christians, or the ones who follow the original teachings of Jesus Christ. Obviously, before he went astray, and Jesus Christ later started corrupting the Word of God, the great life. But the Mandaeans are the original Nestorians. And this drafsha, this cross-like structure, they don't believe in the crucifixion. The Mandaeans do not believe in the crucifixion. This drafsha is in fact the ship sails that the sun god has on his ship. Okay, it reflects the light that comes from the great life. It reflects the light that comes from the great world of light. Okay, so the light that you see coming from the sun is actually the reflection that appears on the drafsha, that appears on the ship sails. And it's the reflection of light that comes from the world of light. And you see here the boat is shaped like a crescent. This is no coincidence. Okay, this is meant to symbolize Venus. We've read from the Hindu sources that Venus is the ship on which the sun god Ra travels. And we've read from the Egyptian sources that the sun god Ra is depicted between the horns of the cow. And the horns of the cow form a crescent. Okay? So the sun god is depicted between the horns of the cow, which form a crescent, meaning that he's traveling on Venus, or he's traveling with Venus. Okay, and this symbolizes the very symbol of Islam. This is the very symbol of Islam, the star and the crescent. See that? The star and the crescent. That's the boat, and there's the sun traveling on that boat, which is the crescent. Okay. From the Hindu sources, Paradakshema, in Hinduism and Buddhism, the rite of circumambulating in clockwise direction an image, relic, shrine, or other sacred object, the worshipper, by beginning in the east and keeping the sacred object on his right-hand side, proceeds to the south, thus moving in the direction followed by the daily course of the sun. The Hindu newlyweds walk around the fire, housewives circle the temple of Tulasi, and devotees circle the sanctum in a temple. The act of paradakshina has the connotation of honor. See that? So the Hindus, the Mandaeans, the Zoroastrians, during the marriage ceremonies, they walk around the fire, and the fire resembles the sun, as I've said. So it's meant for the sun to bless their marriage. Okay? The Yazidis circle around a lamp, symbolizing the pearl from which water flowed and life emerged. In hushed reverence, they recite religious verses before splitting into two groups and chasing after the fire. But notice what it says here. They circle around a lamp, and this lamp is in the shape of a pearl. The shape of an egg, basically, just like the Mandaeans. They circumambulate the egg from which the world emerged, just like the Muslims today. And the black stone is part of that egg from which the world emerged. That's why they circumambulate it. Originally, the Kaaba was thought to have come from the Zoroastrians, because the Kaaba of Zoroaster, but that is simply not true. The Kaaba and Hajj, Muslim pilgrimage, originates from the Egyptians. So this is the Kaaba of Zoroaster, the cube of Zoroaster. It's found in the Fars province in Iran. This is the name of it. I'm not making up this name. The name of this is the cube of Zoroaster. And on the right, you're going to see the Zoroastrian fire temple in Baku, Azerbaijan. Inside of this, you would have a fire. Okay, there would be a fire inside of this. And during the night time, Zoroastrians, when the sun is not up, they pray towards the fire. Okay, and they also circumambulate the fire. That's why you see it at the very center, so people can circumambulate it. Okay, for the ancient Egyptians, encircling as a ritual act was as old as the Egyptian civilization itself. Attested in the earliest literature and into the Roman era, the Egyptians walked in circles. But they also carved them in stone, painted them in text, tied them in knots, and cast them in gold. The circle expressed through movements, gesture, image, or word, reflected and reenacted a circular cyclical cosmos, seen in the path of the sun and the stars, the rhythm of the year, and even in the coils of the serpent. Circles defined sacred space, promising protection from hostile forces, and they could be deployed aggressively. In his role as protector of the solar bark, as it sailed on its nightly voyage through the underworld, the storm god Seth vanquishes the chaos monster Apep, who threatens the sun god Ra. In the spell 108 of the Book of the Dead, Seth says, "I am the Great One of Magic, the son of Nut. My magic has been given to me against you. I have enchanted the sky, while you are rubbed out." Performing the circles was a tool of enchantment indeed. The Egyptian word to encircle later simply came to mean enchant. Okay, so the Egyptian word to circle meant to enchant. From the Freemasonry sources, and the Freemasonry are Gnostics, as we will later see. The rite of circumambulation will supply us with another ritualistic symbol, in which we may again trace the identity of the origin of Freemasonry, with that of religious and mythical ceremonies of the ancients. Circumambulation is the name given by sacred archaeologists to that religious rite in the ancient initiations, which consisted in a formal procession around the altar, or other holy and consecrated object. The prevalence of this rite among the ancients appears to have been universal, and it originally, as I shall have occasion to show, alluded to the apparent course of the sun in the firmament, which is from east to west by the way of the south. In ancient Greece, when the priests were engaged in the rites of sacrifice, they and the people always walked 3 times around the altar, while chanting a sacred hymen or ode. Sometimes, while the people stood around the altar, the rite of circumambulation was performed by the priest alone. A mill has been preserved, which is said to have been chanted by the priests of Apollo and Delos. While performing this ceremony of circumambulation, the substance of which is we imitate the example of the sun and follow his benevolent course. I'm so sorry. And then there's a missing part. It seems that there's a missing part. I copy-paste these paragraphs. I literally copy-paste these paragraphs. Sometimes a mistake might pop up. I've just noticed this mistake, to be honest. But it could be that, a paragraph or a text written by Callimachus has been preserved, which is said to have been chanted by the priests of Apollo at Delos. While performing this ceremony of circumambulation, the substance of which is we imitate the example of the sun and follow his benevolent course. Among the Romans, the ceremony of circumambulation was always used in the rites of sacrifice, of expiation or purification. Among the Hindus, the same rite of circumambulation has always been practiced. As an instance, one may cite the ceremonies which are to be performed by the Brahmin upon first rising from the bed in morning, an accurate account of which has been given by Mr. Sellebrook in the Asiatic Researches. The priest, having first adored the sun while directing his face to the east, then walks towards the west by way of south, saying at the same time, "I follow the course of the sun." And so then, here again, we have in Masonry that old and often reported allusion to sun worship, which has already been seen in the officers of the lodge, and in the point within a circle. And as the circumambulation is made around the lodge, just as the sun was supposed to move around the earth, we are brought back to the original symbolism with which we commenced, that the lodge is a symbol of the world. This singular analogy to the same rite in Freemasonry must lead us to the legitimate conclusion that the common source of all of these rites is to be found in the identical origin of the spurious Freemasonry or pagan mysteries and the pure primitive Freemasonry from which the former succeeded only to be deteriorated. So here's my note. Remember, we read that the Egyptians believed that the planets circled around the supreme sun god. This seems to be the source of this ritual. Also worth mentioning, circumambulation in Arabic is called tawaf, to float, which seems to be in reference to the planets floating around the sun. In fact, if you read this Quranic verse, it is He who created night and day, and the sun and moon, all of the celestial bodies swimming along each in its rounded course. See that? The planets are swimming, right? Because this circular path that they're traveling along is a river or a canal of sorts. That's why they use the word tawaf, meaning to float. Or, in this case, they use the word to swim. The celestial bodies, the planets are swimming. Next up, we're going to talk about some more rituals that are coming from the Egyptians. We have a lot to cover. I think that you guys are going to love this. Thank you for watching. Till next time. Bye-bye.